I was an Army intelligence officer. My life was dealing with facts and analysis. And I'm called home one day because my grandfather was critically ill in the ICU. I would go and visit him every day, sit by his bed, mostly watching him sleep. I came in one day, he was asleep. I was just ready to sit down when I hear him start to mumble. I'm looking at him. He starts to get a little bit louder. He says, no, no. Then he starts rolling around in the bed, and I can see his head shaking back and forth. He gets really loud. No, no, you can't take me, Satan. You can't have me, Satan. What in the world? I never heard him mention Satan in his life. What was he seeing? Should I go out and get a nurse? Should I wake him up? I didn't know what to do. He says this a few more times, and he slumps over and goes back to sleep. I stood there staring at him for the longest time. What just happened? I drove home in a daze. I thought, where was he? I thought we had this gentle passing to the light. He was obviously in a very dark, scary place. I didn't even get to talk to him about it. About a month later, he passed away. So it left me with this question, and I went on this journey trying to figure out, what are we seeing when we pass? It's 30 years later. I'm buying a home in Savannah, Georgia. It needs renovation. I hire a team. They come in. They start their work. Everything seems to be going pretty well. The contractor comes and gets me. She leads me into the kitchen, and she points to a piece of plastic that she had put up just to keep the sheetrock dust out of the other rooms. And on this plastic that went from the floor up to the ceiling, you can see a small child's handprints that have been dipped in white paint. About 20 of them. They're going up to the ceiling. How does a small child get up to the ceiling? We just stood there looking at it. We didn't know what to say. As if she needed some confirmation, she turns to me and said, "Don't them look like handprints to you?" Yes, those are handprints. We had no explanation. A couple of days later, I'm in the hallway. One of her workers comes up to me. He said, "Listen, I can see entities. There's a little girl in your daughter's room." Great. What do I do with that information? He quits the next day, so we don't get to talk about that. And then nothing else happened. We didn't see anything. We didn't hear anything. They continue their work. They're finished. A couple weeks have passed. They're gone. I'm home alone on a Saturday morning. My husband is camping with my son. My daughter's at a sleepover. It's nice and quiet. My dog starts to bark. He's barking furiously. Now, he's a fat, lazy bulldog. He sleeps. That's what he does. I hear these heavy footsteps going up the steps. Stomp, stomp. What is my daughter doing home so early? She just keeps going. And I'm thinking, all right. I'm lying in bed. My bed starts to shake. I'm trying to talk myself out of this. I'm trying to be rational, analytical, and then it shakes so much that it jostles me from side to side. That's it. I'm out of here. I jump up. I'm very scared. I run up to go get my daughter. She's not there. Okay, there's something wrong in this house. What do? I call a friend of mine who works in the paranormal field. She tells me, well, I know a team of amateur ghost hunters. I think they can come over and do an investigation. They come over. They want to start off in my daughter's room. They're up there. The head of the team, David, he's talking through one of the monitors, and he gets a child's voice, and they're talking, but it's a very short conversation. He grabs the monitor. He flips it off. I said, what's wrong? Well, I think there's a dark entity that has come in with the little girl. We don't want to release that into the room. I'm thinking, no, we don't. So I start walking through, and my husband's in his study, and he's talking to someone that we later knew had passed away. I go to the master bedroom. David's up there now, and he's talking to a very angry entity who comes through the monitor and says, David is a butthole, the other word. He says it 2 more times. I'm standing there thinking, how did we get here? I've seen the physical manifestations. I've seen the handprints. My bed has been shaken. Now I can hear voices. They're getting ready to go, but they decide they want to go up one more time to my daughter's room and see if they can make contact with the little girl. The psychic sits across from my daughter, begins talking, and says, "We're going to try to send the little girl to the light." She starts talking and says, "She's here." And my daughter says, "Yes, I can feel her hand on my shoulder." She starts to talk. "Honey, can you see your mommy? Can you see your daddy? You need to go to the light. Go to the light." She says this over and over, and I see a tear start to fall down my daughter's cheek. She opens her eyes. She says she's gone. And the psychic said, "Yeah, she's gone." We go downstairs, standing on the porch. David tells me they're going to look at all the tapes. They're going to analyze everything. They'll get back to me. Great. I'm not at all prepared for what happens to me next. All my years in the Army, whatever analytical work I did, I taught at the university, I can now see entities. I see a man standing in the door of my bedroom. I see a little girl standing at the foot of my bed. It terrifies me every time it happens. I call the team back. I need help. They come back, and with them they bring a short, little, petite lady. Her name is Maria. What does Maria do? Well, Maria can handle dark entities. Good. Maria starts walking around my house. She's burning sage. She's doing a cleansing process. When she finishes with the cleansing, she comes over, she sits down beside me, and she sincerely asks me, "Joni, would you like to know what happens to you when you die?" "Yes." "You're going to go through a dark tunnel. It's going to get very dark. You're going to be afraid. Don't be afraid. You need to keep going, and when it gets really dark, you're going to see a pinhole of light. It's going to get bigger and bigger until you're engulfed by the light. That's where you're supposed to be. What we're dealing with here in your house are those that have turned around. Don't turn around. Keep going." Got it. We go out on the porch. David tells me, "Look, when I came up here, I knew the house was not good. But it's good now. It's okay. However, I have to tell you, I think they're out in the garden shed." Okay, they can have the garden shed. That's fine. Nothing else happened. The house was good. We didn't see anything else. We didn't hear anything else. And I found myself a lot of times thinking about my grandfather being in that very dark place. I think about him every day. I have his signature tattooed on my wrist, and I hope he made it to the light. I think about my own passing. I think about when you go through that dark place and you are afraid, will I be able to see the light? And most of all, I want to really remember what Maria said to me. Keep going.